My company actually works not only in the nuclear thermal space, which hopefully will go down, but also nuclear as well as hydropower. But it is an honor to be here at the Global Hydrogen and Renewable Energy Summit, where we are now at the crossroads of innovation and sustainability, shaping the future of India's energy landscape. So as we set our sights on Viksit Bharat 2047, we recognize that energy is the lifeblood of economic growth and national progress. By 2047, India's peak power demand is projected to exceed 700 gigawatts. I think the number that's bandied about is closer to 1,000 gigawatts, requiring a massive fourfold expansion of our energy generation capacity. It's not just about scaling up, it's about reimagining how we produce, distribute, and consume energy in a way that's affordable, reliable, and most importantly, sustainable. Imagine this. In 2022 alone, the world poured a staggering $7 trillion into subsidizing the fossil fuel industry through direct subsidies, tax breaks, and the unaccounted pollution and environmental damage costs. Now compare this with what was needed to build a cleaner future, $4.5 trillion per year until 2030, to scale renewable energy and infrastructure to reach net zero by 2050. Yes, the upfront investment is significant, and the financial burden can be daunting for many countries. But what's the return? It's an enormous return. Cleaner air, fewer climate disasters, and a healthier population that could collectively save the world up to $4.2 trillion per year by 2030. Beyond cost savings, the transition to renewables strengthens energy security, shields economies from volatile fuel markets, and fosters resilience. The choice is clear. We can continue paying the price of pollution, or we can invest in a future that pays us back. So like I said, my company is very deeply invested in India's energy future. The facts are stark, but the opportunities are immense. India currently is the world's third largest energy consumer. Our energy demands are surging as we continue our economic growth trajectory. Simultaneously, the global imperative to combat climate change demands a radical shift from fossil fuels. But within this challenge lies our greatest strength, our capability for innovation, and our unwavering commitment to a sustainable future. I think a lot was said about green hydrogen yesterday. So I really would not like to continue down that path. But I'll talk about something else that seems to be very important for our future, and that's nuclear energy. Today, India has about 460 gigawatts of thermal power generation capacity. That probably needs to come to zero going forward. And actually, at the moment, we continue to get orders for new power plants, for pumps for new power plants in thermal energy, which seems to have received a new life, so to speak. But that is really going down the drain. The other day, I had presented a chart in Mumbai, and it was a picture that came in the New York Times, a picture of where the world is heading, who are the rising green power producers or green power powers, and who are the fossil fuel powers. And there were two, which looked really big as fossil fuel powers, which are rising fossil fuel powers. China, much bigger than us, and the other one is India. If I looked at Western Europe is almost totally green, blessed with wind power and some solar power. America, regardless of what Mr. Trump says, is a rising green power. They might turn on oil and gas and coal, but if a new administration comes and they flip back, we are going to be in a problem if we continue down this road of fossil fuel power generation. And therefore, I'm very happy that solar, wind, and other renewables like hydrogen are going to make a big difference going forward. But something has to replace coal-fired power plants for base load generation. And as a company and as an industry, we believe that something like 20% should come out of nuclear power plants. And that's about 200 gigawatts of power to be generated. An immense opportunity for Indian companies. At that seminar, we had people coming in from various countries who want to supply us nuclear power stations. The Europeans were there, the Russians were there, the Americans were there. And the story on nuclear power seems to have flipped from being, we need to be very careful with it, to a sudden realization that it is safe. I don't know if yesterday the numbers were mentioned, but if you just type into Google how many people die prematurely in our country because of air pollution, the number is more than 100,000 per year. Number of people who've been affected by nuclear power accidents, and that's counting Fukushima, is less than 7,000 since the year 1945. So India has a stellar safety record. Indian companies can provide all the technology for nuclear power plants. And this is one area where India can be a global supplier. For those of you who are following nuclear power, there was a question about 2 years ago of whether we should get into small modular reactors. And it looked like that's the way to go. But, I think now suddenly people have realized that small modular reactors are not going to be there for 8 or 10 years in a large way. And so the other day, the discussion was on how to get back to the old model. Our old 220 megawatt reactor is the size of small modular reactors, and therefore how to make them in large quantities wherever possible. How to get the private sector into nuclear power generation. That's another big deal. I think Government of India is working on, in the last budget, there was a lot of talk about getting the private sector involved in nuclear power. And I think that's something that we need to do when the company that was at Fukushima, TEPCO, is a private sector power company. Most American nuclear power generators are private sector power companies. And I think we need to put the regulatory framework in place to ensure that we can also have government control where it needs to be, and private sector to generate the power, private sector to bring in the investment. Because let's look at it. On one side, thermal power plants need to shut down. There's a huge market for energy. So any private sector player, or even the Government of India, if it approaches capital markets, should get financing for nuclear power plants, which will replace the coal-fired power plants. So this is one area where India can move from fossil fuels into renewables. And I think the quicker we take a decision and the quicker we start moving, the better it will be for us. Because like I said, 4 more years and we'll realize whether America is going to continue down this path or whether they are going to go back to being as green as possible. I know I woke up in the morning with Mr. Trump, the Environmental Protection Agency in America, removing a lot of restrictions that were there on pollution. But that is their problem. I don't think we need to go down that route. The other area where we work on is small hydro. We are known as a pump manufacturer, and therefore making hydro turbines came naturally to us. There's a very small machine that's kept outside in the exhibition. It's a 5 kilowatt machine. Such machines can go up to 20, 30, 5 kilowatt machine. Such machines can go up to about 30 kilowatts. And we have a range of pumps as turbines. Now, what is the role of small hydro as against large hydro or pump storage, which seems to be coming in fashion, especially with many large companies investing in that? Small hydro can also play a significant role in supporting green hydrogen production by providing renewable, reliable source of energy for the electrolysis process. So what do we have? We have consistent power supply. They provide steady and reliable flow of electricity, which is crucial for continuous operation of electrolyzers used in green hydrogen production. Grid stability, they can help stabilize local grids, especially in remote or isolated areas, ensuring a consistent supply of power for hydrogen production facilities. Cost-effective, low operating costs and long lifespan of small hydro installations make them economically viable for powering green hydrogen. Environmental benefits, by using renewable energy from small hydro, the overall carbon footprint of the hydrogen production process is minimized. And they can be integrated with other renewable energy resources, such as wind and solar, to create hybrid systems to ensure more reliable and balanced energy for hydrogen production. Currently, major small hydropower plants are operated either by central, state governments or large private sector corporations or even small private sector corporations. But there is also a big opportunity to set up micro and mini hydropower plants in this state, as there are many open water streams available which have water throughout the year, an equal opportunity to also set up small pump storage plants in the range of 10 kilowatts to 2 megawatts, because every little bit of renewable energy is what is important. One doesn't need to go only for large power stations. Wherever you have the right resource, the right availability, the right amount of water, you can decide on what size of power plant you want to have. To encourage public-private partnership program for micro and small hydro, there is a necessity that a policy is put in place which gives guidelines on planning the capital expenditure budget with supporting tariff plans to show positive returns on investments. So to achieve net zero at the national level, it's a must that it's not only a must, but it should be a long-term initiative to reach minimum scale of investment and use all possible efforts to make this reliable and sustainable renewable energy solution. So as we stand on the brink of a new energy era, the path to Viksit Bharat 2047 is quite clear. An India that is energy secure, self-reliant, and a global leader in clean energy innovation. National green hydrogen mission, large-scale renewable energy expansion, and grid modernization are stepping stones towards sustainable, resilient, and prosperous India. With a strong policy framework, bold investments, and collaborative partnerships, we have the opportunity to reshape the global energy landscape, and I say reshape the global energy landscape. With 16 to 20% of the world's population, we do consume a lot of energy. And whichever way we move is going to have a huge effect on the rest of the world. The energy transition is not just about technology and infrastructure, it's about people. It's about creating new livelihoods, skilling a green workforce, and ensuring a just transition for those in conventional energy sectors. The choices we make today will determine the energy security and economic prosperity of our nation for decades to come. The transition to green hydrogen economy is not just the responsibility of the government or a few companies. I think that responsibility is on all of us, whether we are industry leaders, policymakers, researchers, or just citizens of this nation. We have to join hands and work together to make this vision a reality. As we move forward, let us commit to bold action, decisive leadership, and unwavering innovation. That's exactly the point I had made 2 days ago at the Atomic Energy Seminar. This is not the time to go slow. We have to move as fast as possible because there is no choice for us. Together, let's build an energy ecosystem that powers a strong, sustainable, and self-reliant India. Thank you very much.